welcome to my channel. I'm Old Joe. This is the very first in a series of reviews that I'm starting about what were my favorite TV shows of the 1970s. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoy this video. That's how I'll know whether to continue. I have to say that the year 1972 stands out as probably the best year ever in my life. Whether that pertains to TV, music, school, friends, or just my life in general. For me, 1972 was great. I also have to admit that I was truly addicted to watching television in 1972. We lived in the country miles from anything, and watching television was my life. I had my very own subscription to TV Guide, and I would be standing at the mailbox in excited anticipation of its weekly arrival. I'd always go through it from cover to cover and circle everything I was going to watch during the week. One show that was always circled in the TV Guide was a little-known television series called Search. Search was a science fiction/detective series that was my favorite new show of that year. It debuted on the NBC television network during the 1972 fall season. And as far as I can tell, it hasn't been shown on American television ever since leaving the air in August of 1973. I think I've seen all 23 episodes, but without skipping ahead, I can't be 100% sure. Remember, back in the 70s, if you missed an episode, you had one chance, maybe two, to catch it in reruns. And then that was it forever. Unless the show had a lot of episodes and it went into syndication. There was no such thing as streaming, and only very wealthy people could afford to buy a videotape recorder in 1972. And my family was far from being wealthy. We had a 12-year-old black and white Admiral 25-inch console television. Oh, how I would have loved to have had a state-of-the-art color TV and a video recorder back in 1972. I've recently obtained a DVD set of the entire Search series, just in time for the show's 50th anniversary. I have yet to unwrap it, but I'll soon be watching these episodes again, and this will be my first time watching them in living color. I plan on reviewing each episode of the Search series in order, so join me as I jump down this deep rabbit hole and review these 50-year-old episodes one by one. Today, I'm going to begin my journey by commenting on another recent rewatch of the 1972 TV movie titled Probe. Probe was the original pilot for the series that was renamed Search. It's a movie that I have seen many times, having recorded it to VHS tape when it was shown on TBS in the 1980s. But going back to the 1970s, the three major networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC, each had several nights each week dedicated to airing movies. Usually those movies would turn out to be theatrical films, making their television debuts, which was great if you missed it at the theater. But quite often, a special made-for-TV movie was used as a cost-effective way of producing and presenting a television series pilot. NBC had decided to do that with Probe. I had seen it listed in my TV Guide, so I was ready. It was February 21st in the year 1972. This 13-year-old had parked his butt on the family couch in front of the old Admiral console. It was tuned to Channel 11, WIIC-TV, Pittsburgh's local NBC affiliate. I would definitely stay up late that night, because at 9 p.m. Eastern, NBC aired its 2-hour made-for-TV movie, Probe, as that week's NBC Monday Night at the Movies presentation. Probe was the brainchild of writer, director, producer Leslie Stevens. Hugh O'Brian starred as the World Security Corporation's high-tech field agent, Hugh Lockwood. Burgess Meredith portrayed Probe director VCR Cameron, commanding a crack team of some highly trained technicians. Unknown to me until very recently when I was researching this video, Co-star Angel Tompkins had been featured in that very month's edition of Playboy magazine. And what 13-year-old boy wouldn't have been thrilled to set his eyes on the lovely guest star Elke Sommer? Rewatching the movie has certainly rekindled some of those same feelings for me. Looking at IMDb, Probe has a 7.2 rating, but only one review. Nobody has bothered at all on Rotten Tomatoes, but I guess that's to be expected. It's a 50-year-old TV movie. But let's dive in, shall we? Beware, there are spoilers ahead.
The movie begins with scenes of a machine gun fight in a Spanish-speaking village. The camera pulls back to reveal that the action is being monitored on screen by a team of technicians at monitoring stations, NASA style. The camera view rises up using a beautiful crane shot, briefly exposing a shadow of the camera in a nearby tree. We zoom in on the star of the show.
Hugh O'Brian, born April 19, 1925. The Emmy-nominated actor was best known for his starring role as the title character in the 1950s and 60s ABC Western The Life and Legend of Wyatt Earp. He died September 5, 2016.
As Agent Lockwood is hiding in the shadows of a doorway with a coil of rope slung over his shoulder, we hear someone say, "Probe control to Probe 1. Report to position. Do you copy?" It's the iconic voice of Burgess Meredith.
Burgess Meredith, born November 16, 1907, was well known for his portrayal of the bookworm in the first season episode of The Twilight Zone titled Time Enough at Last. He is probably best known for portraying the Penguin in the 1960s Batman TV series, as well as the movie by the same name. He was active in the film industry for more than 6 decades before his death at age 89 on September 9, 1997.
We get some expository dialogue about a vice consul who's being held hostage somewhere in the town, but that's just there to demonstrate the capabilities of Lockwood and his employer, the Probe organization. It's not very important to the rest of the movie going forward. Lockwood ignores Cameron's warnings and he races down the middle of the street, miraculously avoiding all the dozens of machine gun bullets flying at him in the process. He rushes in to rescue the vice consul, and the two of them escape, quite easily I might add, in a vehicle that just happens to be waiting nearby. Mission accomplished. Lockwood relays to Cameron that he deserves some much-needed R&R, and we cue the title sequence. I have always enjoyed this movie's opening sequence, with its flashy computer look and its stylish computer text. But what has stuck with me after all these years is the jazzy score put together by its composer, Dominic Frontier.
Dominic Frontier, born June 17, 1931. He was an award-winning film and television composer whose career spanned 3 decades. His work included scores for television shows such as The Outer Limits, The Fugitive, 12 O'Clock High, Search, Vegas, and Matt Houston. He died December 21, 2017 at the age of 86.
Since Frontier had previously scored during the first season of The Outer Limits, another of the producer's creations, the musician's creative abilities were well known to Probe's writer, creator, producer, Leslie Stevens.
Search series creator Leslie Stevens was born February 3, 1924. Starting out as a playwright, he went on to write, direct, and produce many popular television shows during the 1960s and 70s. He created such shows as The Outer Limits, Search, and the 1979 hit TV series Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. He died April 24, 1998.
Some may recognize the current Bank of America building as the camera tilts down in the movie's establishing shot. That's a stand-in for World Securities Corporation headquarters. With millions of dollars worth of electronic equipment at his disposal, VCR Cameron is not happy to be reduced to speaking on the telephone with his man in the field.
An emergency assignment just came in.
But that is exactly what he's doing, because Lockwood has his electronic monitoring system turned off while he's enjoying a nice massage.
He is told that his time off has been canceled. It's an emergency. The Entourage diamond collection has gone missing. Now, I've never understood the hurry. I mean, haven't the diamonds been missing since the end of World War II? This is 30 years later. We see Lockwood scan himself into the control center via an advanced palm print reader. It just so happens that one of the board members of the organization's World Securities Corporation is in the control room so that VCR Cameron can deliver some exposition. And therefore, we hear it.
He has a tiny receiving set that's tuned into our sound channel, and it is...
He introduces their newest upgraded scanner with its miniature camera.
It certainly doesn't look like a camera. Oh, yes, it's even more than a camera. We've extended its range to include pictures, sound, shortwave, ultrasonics, infrared.
From the scale shown in the movie, I'd say the scanner's lens is about the size of the camera lens on my smartphone. And you have to admit, that's extremely tiny for 1972. In the 1970s, a VCR camera was a two-piece unit. The camera portion rested on your shoulders, and the recorder itself was about the size of a small suitcase. I remember having a VCR camera in the 1980s that was compact enough to rest the entire unit on your shoulder. After a short briefing, Lockwood boards a jet and takes off on a transatlantic flight to Austria. He's accompanied by a gentleman named Harold Streeter, played by John Gielgud.
Sir Arthur John Gielgud was an English stage and film actor, whose career spanned 8 decades before his death at the age of 96 on May 21, 2000.
Streeter, the client's chief diamond appraiser, is there at the request of the client corporation's board of directors. Probe Central can link in via satellite to track Lockwood and company as they jet across the Atlantic. Now, it's explained that when Lockwood is in the presence of other people, he should avoid verbal responses. He's supposed to use dental contacts to tap out beeps. 1 beep for yes, 2 beeps for no. The probe scanner can also send back information such as his heart rate, respiration, body temperature, brainwave activity, and some additional telemetry. And not only can they monitor the vital signs of our probe agent, but others who happen to be nearby as well. It also inadvertently picks up a BBC shortwave broadcast. That once happened to me while I was recording my 45 RPM records onto cassette tapes. It's annoying. In Austria, Lockwood and Streeter pick up their rental car, it's a Mercedes-Benz, and they set out for their first interview. Meanwhile, our crew back home watches, hanging on every word. At the chateau home of Frau Frieda Ullmann, Lockwood rings the bell, After a few seconds, he also decides to use the door knocker. Speaking of knockers, Elke Sommer, as Frida Ullman's daughter Uli, opens the door and begins to complain. Knock or ring, not both.
Yes? Sorry.
'70s sex symbol Elke Sommer was born in Berlin in 1940. She began modeling and transitioned to films. She has appeared in Playboy magazine, as well as countless films and television shows in a career that has lasted more than 60 years.
Meanwhile, at her monitoring station back at Probe headquarters, Gloria Harding, played by the lovely Angel Tompkins, is displaying quite a bit of jealousy.
Just what we need.
Angel Tompkins was born December 20, 1942. The 5'7" blonde could certainly turn a head or two. She is an American actress who has appeared in scores of television shows and films, as well as Playboy magazine. She is still active in the motion picture industry, with a film currently in pre-production, with a planned release in 2023.
There's obviously some back history between Lockwood and Harding, but the movie doesn't go into it here. I seem to recall a Search episode where Miss Harding gets to join Lockwood in the field, but I think I'm getting way too far ahead of myself. Back in Austria, Uli leads the men to Frau Ullmann, played by Lilia Scala.
Lilia Scala was born in Vienna in the year 1896. The daughter of a Jew, she fled her homeland during the German occupation and she settled in the United States. She appeared in numerous films and television shows during her nearly 6 decades working as an actor. She was nominated for an Academy Award for her role in the 1963 film The Lilies of the Field. Lilia lived to be 98 years old.
Heading back after their meeting at the chateau, the two men discover that they are being tailed by a rather large man driving a black Porsche. At a nearby restaurant, a waitress catches Lockwood talking to his scanner. Lockwood returns to his table to discover that the beautiful Uli is seated at the table with Mr. Streeter. It seems that she has also followed them. They return to the chateau with Uli, where the trio discovers that Frau Ullmann has now gone missing. First, there were the missing diamonds, and now there's a missing person. Also of note, the large man from the black Porsche is lurking around on the chateau grounds. There is gunfire, during which Mr. Streeter is grazed by a ricochet. Lockwood is beginning to regret bringing Streeter along. Later, at their hotel near the airport, Streeter is resting comfortably and enjoying his room service, while Lockwood dines downstairs with Uli. Lockwood decides to place a phone call to Streeter. He leaves his valuable scanner hidden in a dinner napkin to scan the dining room while he goes off in search of a payphone. The 1970s. Probe Control listens in as a man stops behind Uli and speaks briefly with her. The waiter clears the table, forcing Lockwood to hurry back and search through the soiled linens to locate his scanner device. Lockwood slips the scanner into his pocket as he escorts Uli to her room. This prompts Cameron to inquire if he is still hooked up.
Is he still hooked up?
Yes, sir, he's hooked up fine.
Kuroda confirms the connection. After returning to the States, Lockwood drops Streeter off at Probe Central, and he continues looking for the Entourage collection and Frau Ullmann with Uli in tow. They visit the Regency Crown Hotel, where Lockwood is ambushed in the hotel's wine cellar, and Uli is trapped in her room with the phone service and electricity cut off. After an electronically guided escape from the hotel's basement, Lockwood rescues Uli. Then Lockwood declares a Code 10. This is a coded request for absolute secrecy. Cameron sends everybody out of the room, telling them that they are shutting down the probe. Once the room is clear, Cameron speaks privately with Lockwood. If you've ignored the spoiler alert up to now, what is left to come is definitely going to contain extreme spoilers. We discover that the Brit, Streeter, is actually a German named von Koenig. He took a new identity after World War II. He had stolen the diamonds, and he has the gems with him. He's had them all along. During Lockwood's confrontation with von Koenig, he is informed by Cam that someone is sneaking up behind him from another room. It's the missing woman, Frau Ullman. While Frau Ullman is standing there with a gun pointed at Lockwood, Uli enters the room. Actually, in a minor editing error, Uli enters the room twice. We can see her enter in a reflection in the mirror during the close-up shot of Lilia Scala, and then she comes in once again during the next wide shot. I can't believe I've never noticed this goof before in the many times I've watched the movie. In fact, it isn't even noted as a goof on IMDb. But anyway, Uli enters the room and she startles her mother, who accidentally pulls the trigger. The shot just misses Lockwood and instead hits von Koenig in the arm. It is then revealed that Frau Ullman is in reality Frau von Koenig. Well, that about wraps up the case. Lockwood retrieved the missing entourage collection, the von Koenigs are going off to jail, and Lockwood is taking a well-deserved 3-week vacation for 2. I'm thinking he'll spend it with Uli.
3 weeks, Cam.
But what will Gloria Harding think?
Keep it up with the ride, Maiden, and I'll melt your ear jack down with some ultrasonic feedback.
Oh, wait. I'm getting word that there's another emergency mission.
An emergency assignment just came in.
I can't hear you. We have an emergency request for probe division. From private interest seeking to recover an atomic warhead lost in Mediterranean waters near Gibraltar.
That's all. No. Lockwood. Lockwood, we know you're there, Lockwood. Your lights are green. Lockwood, take it out of your pocket. Probe control, probe 1.
Lockwood. Save it. End program.